a descendant from the dinosaurs. The saltwater crocodile is the most powerful predator in Australia, and it is not close. It can weigh over a ton, stretch beyond 6 meters from snout to tail, and it bites down with more force than any living animal that has ever been measured. Its lineage has survived, almost unchanged, since before the dinosaurs disappeared. In the rivers and estuaries of northern Australia, it is the absolute king, an armored ambush machine that fears nothing in the water and very little out of it. And yet there is one corner of its world it does not rule, a stretch of dense, green, dripping rainforest just back from the riverbank, where the crocodile has no real authority at all, because something else lives in there. Something that stands as tall as a man, runs faster than you can sprint, and carries a blade on each foot. It is a bird, it cannot fly, and it is, by the reckoning of both the record books and the medical literature, the single most dangerous bird on the face of the earth. To understand why a 1-ton crocodile and a 60-kilogram bird can share a coastline and simply leave each other alone, you have to understand exactly what this animal is and what it carries, because almost nothing about it works the way a bird is supposed to. There are 6 things that make the cassowary one of the most extraordinary animals alive, and by the time we reach the last one, the relationship between the river king and the forest will look completely different than it does right now. Let's meet it properly. The southern cassowary, Cassowarius cassowarius, lives in the dense tropical rainforests of far north Queensland and the island of New Guinea. It belongs to an ancient group of flightless birds called the radiates, the same deep lineage that produced the ostrich, the emu, and the long-extinct moa of New Zealand, a branch of the bird family tree whose roots reach back into the age of the dinosaurs. A large adult stands up to nearly 2 meters tall, taller than most people watching this, and weighs somewhere between 50 and 75 kilograms. And here is the first small surprise. The females are the larger sex, a reversal of the usual pattern that, as you will see, runs all the way through this animal's life. Its body is covered in coarse black plumage that looks almost like hair. Its neck blazes in electric blue and vivid red. And on top of its head, it carries a tall, bony crest called a casque, unlike anything on any other living bird. From a distance, picking its way through the shadows of the forest, it looks prehistoric, almost absurd, like something that wandered out of the wrong era and never noticed. That impression is not an accident, and it is not an exaggeration. It is, as we will get to, almost literally true. But first, the weapon, because the weapon is why we are here. On the inside toe of each foot, the cassowary carries a single elongated claw that can grow up to 12 centimeters long, straight, hard, keratin-sheathed, and tapered to a point like a dagger. It is not built for scratching the dirt. When a cassowary feels cornered, it does not flee, it attacks. And it does so with a forward and downward kick so powerful that the bird can briefly leave the ground to deliver it, driving that claw into whatever is in front of it with the full weight and muscle of its legs behind the blow. The legs themselves are the engine, thick, heavily muscled, and capable of a strike fast enough that a person rarely has time to react before it lands. A kick like that can open a body, and the danger is less the puncture itself than what the long claw does on the way through. This is not folklore, and it is not a story that grew in the telling. In 1926 in Queensland, a 16-year-old boy named Philip McLean was killed when a cassowary he and his brother had tried to drive off struck him in the neck, and he bled to death from the wound. It remains the best documented case in history of a bird killing a human being. Far more recently, in 2019, a man in Florida died after being attacked by a captive cassowary he kept on his property. A detailed study of attacks in Queensland cataloged well over 200 recorded incidents across the 20th century, and the pattern in them is important and worth stating plainly. The overwhelming majority were defensive, and almost all of them involved humans who had been feeding the birds, teaching them to approach people, and then frightening or cornering them. That detail matters because it quietly rewrites the headline. The cassowary is not roaming the forest looking for victims. The recorded attacks cluster almost entirely around places where people had started leaving food out, drawing the birds in and eroding their natural wariness, until a large, powerful animal came to associate humans with an easy meal and reacted badly. When the meal stopped coming, take the feeding away, give the bird its distance, and encounters with healthy wild cassowaries are overwhelmingly uneventful. The cassowary is not a malicious animal, and it does not hunt people. But it is powerful, it is heavily armed, and it does not back down when it feels threatened, and that combination is exactly why both Guinness World Records and the people who treat its victims call it the most dangerous bird alive. That claw, though, is only half of what makes it untouchable, because a weapon is only as good as your ability to bring it to bear, and this is where the cassowary becomes genuinely formidable. It is fast, In the dense, cluttered understory of a tropical rainforest, a place where most large animals can barely move, the cassowary can run at up to 50 kilometers an hour, weaving through trees and undergrowth that would stop a person dead. It can jump 1.5 meters straight up, and it swims well enough to cross rivers without a second thought. Now put those two facts together, the dagger and the speed, and ask the question the title of this video is really asking: why would a predator avoid it? The answer is not fear in the dramatic sense. It is arithmetic. A predator that decides to attack a healthy adult cassowary is taking on a fast, agile, 2-meter target that can disembowel it with a single kick, in terrain where the bird has every advantage, all for a meal it could get more safely somewhere else. For a saltwater crocodile whose entire hunting strategy depends on the water and on ambush, a grown cassowary deep in the forest is simply not worth the risk. The two animals are not enemies locked in battle. They are sovereigns of separate kingdoms, and the smart move for the king of the river is to stay in the river. Juveniles and chicks, away from their father's protection, are another story, and those are taken by dogs, by pythons, by crocodiles at the water's edge. But a full-grown cassowary on its home ground is one of the very few animals in Australia that a saltwater crocodile has good reason to leave entirely alone. Then there is the structure on its head, the casque, and is one of the strangest pieces of anatomy in the entire bird world. No other living bird has anything quite like it. A tall, bony, helmet-like crest rising from the skull and covered in a tough keratin sheath. For a long time, nobody could agree on what it was actually for, and the most likely answer turns out to be that it does several jobs at once. One leading idea is that it works as an acoustic resonator. Cassowaries produce some of the lowest frequency calls of any bird, deep booming sounds that sit right at the very bottom edge of human hearing, some of them dropping so low, right around the threshold where sound stops being something you hear and becomes something you feel, that they rank among the lowest calls produced by any bird on Earth. Stand near a cassowary as it booms and the sensation is less like listening and more like standing beside a subwoofer you cannot quite locate. In dense forest where high sounds are swallowed by the leaves within meters, those low booms carry over enormous distances, letting these solitary birds keep track of one another across the trees. A second idea, supported by recent research, is that the casque sheds heat. It is rich with blood vessels near the surface, and in the tropical heat it appears to act as a radiator, dumping excess warmth from the body. On top of that, it may help shove vegetation aside as the bird drives its lowered head through the undergrowth at speed, and it almost certainly signals age, status, and fitness to other cassowaries. Resonator, radiator, plough, and crown all at once, sitting on the head of a bird that looks like it belongs in another age entirely. And that brings us to the fourth thing, the one that reframes the whole animal. Birds are not merely the descendants of dinosaurs. Birds are dinosaurs, the single surviving branch of the theropods, the same group that produced Tyrannosaurus and the swift, sickle-clawed predators of the popular imagination. Every sparrow and every pigeon is a living dinosaur in the strictest scientific sense. But of all the birds alive today, the cassowary may be the one that most vividly resembles its extinct non-avian relatives. Look at the legs, thick and scaled and powerful. Look at the three-toed feet, one of them carrying that killing claw, an unsettling echo of the raptors whose own raised, sickle-shaped claws made them famous. Look at the upright posture, the long stride, the way it lowers its head and barrels forward through cover. Paleontologists reconstructing how a small, agile predatory dinosaur actually moved, an animal closer in size to Deinonychus than to anything in the films. Keep arriving at something that looks a great deal like a cassowary in full sprint. The balance over the hips, the head carried forward on a long neck, the explosive push from a single powerful stride, the raised inner claw kept clear of the ground until the instant it is needed. All of it rhymes with what the fossils imply. The line is almost too good to be true, but it holds up. If you want the closest thing on Earth to watching a non-avian theropod move through its world, you do not need a time machine. You need to stand very quietly at the edge of a Queensland rainforest and wait. So far, this is a portrait of a perfect armored, ancient killing machine. And now comes the turn that makes the cassowary genuinely remarkable. Because this animal, the most dangerous bird on the planet, is also the single most important gardener in its entire forest. The Australian tropical rainforest is full of trees that produce large fruit, and many of those fruits carry seeds so big that almost no other animal can swallow them and pass them intact. At least 70 species of rainforest plants depend on the cassowary, and on the cassowary alone, to eat their fruit, carry the seeds through its gut, and deposit them, fertilized and ready, far from the parent tree. No other animal in that forest can do the job, which means the math runs in a direction nobody expects. If the cassowary disappeared, Those 70-plus species of trees would begin to vanish with it. And as the trees went, so would a piece of the forest itself, the very forest the cassowary lives in. The most lethal bird on the planet is at the same time the keystone holding its entire world together. It is not a destroyer. It is a guardian, and the rainforest of northern Australia quite literally cannot exist in its current form without it, which makes its situation today quietly alarming. The southern cassowary is classified as vulnerable, its numbers thinning as the forest is cleared and carved into fragments, as cars strike the birds on roads that now run through their range, and as dogs take the chicks. Every cassowary lost is not just one bird gone. It is a thread pulled out of an entire forest. And there is no other animal standing by to take up the work it leaves behind. And the contradictions do not stop there, because there is a sixth thing, and it is the one that finally tells you what kind of animal you are really looking at. Remember that the females are the larger sex. They are also the ones that leave. A female cassowary mates, lays a clutch of large green eggs, and then walks away, often to mate again with another male. Everything after that falls to the father. The male settles onto the eggs and incubates them for around 50 days, and during that time he barely eats and barely drinks, surviving on his own reserves, turning the eggs, guarding the nest, losing condition by the week. When the chicks finally hatch, he raises them entirely on his own, leading them through the forest, teaching them what to eat and where to find it, and defending them ferociously. That same disemboweling kick now turned entirely to their protection, for around 9 months before they strike out on their own. It is one of the most committed examples of exclusive male parenting found in any vertebrate on Earth. So the animal with the dagger on its foot, the bird that can kill a person and make a crocodile think twice, is also a devoted single father who starves himself for almost 2 months to bring the next generation into the world. That is the whole cassowary, in one impossible package. So let's go back to the crocodile, and to the question the title started with. It is tempting to say the saltwater crocodile is afraid of the cassowary, but that is not quite the truth, and the truth is more interesting. The crocodile is not afraid. The crocodile simply rules a different kingdom. In the water, in the estuaries and the rivers, nothing challenges it, and a cassowary that strays too close to the bank can absolutely be taken. But step back into the deep, green, tangled forest and the rules change completely. There, the speed belongs to the bird, the terrain belongs to the bird, the dagger belongs to the bird, and the arithmetic of any attack turns against the reptile. The river king does not fear the forest king. It respects the boundary between them. And that is the thing Australia teaches you again and again, more clearly than almost anywhere else on Earth. Evolution here did not build a single throne with a single ruler at the top. It built parallel kingdoms, each with its own sovereign, each unbeatable on its own ground. The crocodile owns the water. The cassowary owns the forest. And the line between them is drawn not by fear, but by the hard, honest mathematics of who would win and where. There is one more thing worth sitting with, though, because we have spent this whole story treating the saltwater crocodile as the established king, the baseline of power against which the cassowary is measured. But the crocodile is a secret of its own, and it is arguably stranger than anything you have just heard. This is an animal that has been doing what it does, in more or less the same body, since the age of the dinosaurs, an apex predator that watched the asteroid fall and the great reptiles vanish and simply kept going, unchanged, for tens of millions of years while the whole world was remade around it. How a creature survives that long, what it actually takes to outlast a mass extinction and still be sitting at the top of the food chain today, is a question with an answer most people have never heard. And that is exactly where we are going next.